two of you and Roger, talking about the running order of the set on stage tonight during the check. What's the running order like now? Now have you changed the actual songs around that you use in the show? Because I think you've changed them a bit since you've been on tour this time.
Yeah, but I mean, what we did really is we radically changed the set that we were playing last year. We did a lot of touring in 1980. We did about 6 months. About half the year was devoted to live work, and then about another 3 months we devoted to recording. And we tended to lock into a particular act, which we used right from January 1980 right through to the end of the year. And once we did the new album, Face Dances, and we had a few new numbers to include, we started off with maybe 4 or 5 new numbers. And it's quite tricky making the transition. You know, the flow from song to song is very critical, particularly for a band like us, because not all of our material is up-tempo, you know, so you have to, in order to keep the energy up and to keep the excitement up, you've got to be very careful about what flows into what. So it's just a bit of a debate about, you know, what went where.
But you started off, I think, playing a lot more new stuff than you had done, and then changed it. Is that right?
What was that on this tour?
On the beginning of this tour.
Yeah, the British tour. We did. Yeah, we started off not so much playing that much new stuff. I think we were playing 5 new songs. But what we had done is we'd really devastated the old act. You know, I was really keen to sort of live a bit dangerously with the Who, and to some extent I still feel that way. I still think the Who, if there's anything dangerous about the Who's position, it is that it's very easy for us to rest on our laurels, because we've had such a long career now, like practically 13 years, and so many really, you know, like monumental classic smashes, like the material from Quadrophenia and Tommy, and the early material of My Generation, then later on Won't Get Fooled Again and stuff like that. I mean, that material really does hold an act together very much, and you tend to lean on it a lot. And so I wanted as much new material as possible, but I also wanted to drop, I wanted to drop the stuff from Tommy, and I wanted to drop My Generation, and I wanted to introduce a lot of new material into the encore. And Roger agreed with me, and everybody in the band thought it was a good idea, but we went a bit over the top to begin with. Our first few gigs in London were really peculiar.
Yeah, I heard you gave a speech at the end of the first one, I think.
Well, Roger got into it at the state, and because his monitors were terrible. And I was really drunk and determined to have a good time. And I just thought the audience would just, I don't know, I suppose expecting too much of the band. You know, it was our first gig in London. And I thought, well, you know, what do they want? You know, we're not perfect any more than any other band is perfect. And, you know, there's lots of myths and legends about the Who, but still not perfect.
How much of that do you think, though, comes from you thinking about the band rather than the audience themselves? I've often thought, for instance, that the audience still like the band, that's why they come and see you. But you seem to do a lot of thinking yourself about how the band now relates to an audience that maybe has grown up with the band or maybe has come new to the band.
I don't do that much thinking about it, actually. I mean, I'm very conscious of it, and I think every band should be. I think a young band should be very conscious of the fact that it shouldn't isolate itself from the general melee of record buyers. You know, I mean, it's all very well Adam and the Ants breeding all these little ant people, you know, but they're going to end up like the Small Faces in the end, you know, with an audience of 16-year-old girls who eventually get pregnant and go and, you know, marry stockbrokers, and then they'll have no audience left. So they've obviously got to be very conscious of keeping them, and that's what we've always done. We've always gone for the other thing with the Who is we've always gone for more of a male audience. It's not to say that we don't like seeing, you know, a lot of females in the audience. It's just that, like, I've always thought that the male audience was more loyal.
I'll think about that one. Yeah.